Hello, Brick Sculptors, and welcome back to Brick Sculpts. This is Chris, and we are back to talk about this grid again. That's right, I have some questions to answer for you guys, and I want to show you guys some super cool techniques. Now, if this doesn't look familiar to you and you haven't seen my other video, I highly recommend you go and watch that one first. I'll link it here as well as at the end of the video. It's going to make more sense in this video if you watch that one first. So this grid I did in the last video has gotten a lot of attention. It was a really popular video. People seemed really into it. And I kept hearing a couple of different things in the comments. Number one, people kept telling me that this is the ideal growing pattern for sugarcane in Minecraft. Now, I don't play Minecraft, so I'll take your word for it. But I thought that was pretty funny. I heard that many times. And then people also kept saying that this is the pattern that the knight moves in chess, meaning 2 over and 3 up. I'm not claiming to have created this grid. This has been done before. But as far as my channel goes, I think it only makes sense if we refer to this grid as the Shug Knight grid. So from now on Brick Sculpt, this will be called the Shug Knight grid. Now, what is part 2 going to talk about? The number one requested thing in the comments was, how do you fill in with plates? And what I mean by that is, if you've watched my other video, you know that in this grid, you can take any plate and mount it fully at an angle anywhere on this grid. Now, it has to be this angle. If you build it the other way, it can be a different angle, but it's the same thing, just the opposite. The question was, okay, so you got it to this angle. How can you get it back to the standard Lego grid? And that's what we're going to answer in this video. Now, the answer that everyone was looking for, and the proper answer to this problem, is wedge plates. We need to talk about what type of wedge plates, how to arrange them, and how to make this work. So here I'm showing some pieces that we can use to fill around these squares and take it back from this grid back to the standard grid. And up top here are the ones that are going to be most useful. Let's talk about them. The slope that we're looking for to do this is 3 by 1, and that works for these little ones here. It works for these ones here, which are 6 by 2, as well as these here, which are also 6 by 2. Now, this piece I don't like as much as this one because of this flat section here. It's going to create more gaps. You might find a different use for it, but I have much better luck with these two than these ones. If you're doing really large sections, these wings work as well. They have the same 3 by 1 slope, but again, that flat section is going to cause gaps. So depending on your build, this may or may not be a good idea. I think you'll definitely have better success with these guys up top, but all of these pieces here are the slope that we need to fulfill this. So keep that in mind when you're doing this at home. Down here are pieces that I don't recommend using. 45-degree angles, these two, not going to help. 1 by 2s, which are these pieces here, aren't going to do it. 1 by 4s, not helpful, and 1 by 5s, also not helpful. So we want to stick to these ones up here. Also, I'm going to put a new channel up on the Discord server dedicated to the Shug Knight grid, and its intention is going to be to share ideas around this grid and ways of filling it up or anything else cool you can do with it. If you guys are looking to learn more about this kind of stuff, definitely check out the Discord server because there is so much cool stuff on there. There are so many experts on there posting really cool stuff, some of which is far beyond what I normally would do. And even if you're not looking to contribute anything, just go on there to learn. You can really see a lot of cool things and techniques on there. So check it out. I'll have it linked in the comments. Now, while doing this, you're going to want both opposing slopes because these are what's going to work together to get you back to square. And so let me go ahead and show you a couple techniques on how we can do this. And first, let's go through the parts that we need. Okay, I have two different layouts here. Both of these are going to fulfill a 6 by 6. Also keep in mind, either of these can be scaled up for a larger central portion. But both of these are going to fulfill a 6 by 6 just in two different ways. And they're going to be good for a couple different things. So let me go ahead and show this to you on the grid here. These are the pieces for the first one. You're going to need opposing angles, 4 of each of these 2 by 6 wedges. You're going to need 4 1 by 2s, 4 2 by 4s, and 4 of these 1 by 3 wedges in this direction. On this side, it's basically the same. Sorry, I ran out of white wedges there. But you need 2 opposing wedges here. You need 2 opposing of the small wedges. Most of these can be substituted for filler brick. This is just what's going to fill on the outside, but you'll see why I use that on the grid here. So let's go ahead and get started and show you how this method works out. So on the first one here, we're going to start by surrounding the central piece with these 2x6 wedges. Just like that. Next, we're going to take the opposing wedges and just fill in to make them go back to the standard grid. Now this is going to leave this awkward little point here, which unfortunately is going to be the space we have to leave. From here we can go ahead and fill in these smaller wedges. Now I don't have a lot of connection points here, but keep in mind at this point we're back on the standard grid, so I could put as many connections as I want under here. I'm just not going to because this is just a grid I'm going to use for demonstration here. But you could connect these fully, so don't worry about that. And then we can go ahead and fill in around these. And at the end, what we're going to have is we're going to have the central portion here at an angle, 4 small gaps, and we're back to the standard grid. Now I built this one first, and the next thing I was thinking was, okay, how do I make those gaps smaller? So that's what I attempted to do here. Now in doing so, I had to make the entire thing a little bit bigger. The first step I did in this one was expand the plate, but not in the corners here, just on the 4 sides to bring it out by 1 stud on each side. And then I did the same technique as here, mounting my plates around the outside, just like this. Now this allowed me to come in here with these white, smaller 1x3s and fill in behind it, making a more square center and leaving smaller gaps here. The next step after that is to fill in with our opposing plates, just like this. Now this is getting bigger than this one, which again may or may not work in your build, just depends what you're trying to do. But we are going to get a little bit more full of an area here. Now a lot of these pieces can be substituted. This is just what I grabbed to fill the space nicely. But keep in mind also, again, we're back on the standard grid here, so you could put as many studs as you wanted underneath this. I know this is kind of loosely held on here right now, but you wouldn't have to have that if this was in an actual build. And when we're done, we still have some small spaces here, but they're a little bit less noticeable than these. And we can get it to a bigger size. Keep in mind, we can scale this up to any size we need. We're just going to use more and more plates using the same technique. As I mentioned before, if we were going to go really big on this, we could use these larger wing pieces as well. Just keep in mind that this may cause larger gaps. We could build out like this and then meet up with these to get them back to square. The problem you might run into is you have a lot of these flat sections. Those are all going to cause gaps, and so are these here. But play around with this. This might work for you with the build that you're doing. And if you're trying to cover a lot of space like this, having that big long piece might be beneficial to you. Now in doing a really large one, I was thinking, okay, well, how small can I go? The answer that I found was no plate in the middle, but 1 space, and then just wedges around it. And the way I would do that is like this. So this would basically give us a 3x3 askew, and then still be able to put more wedges on it and get it back into the standard grid. Just like that. So lots you can do with this. A lot of fun stuff to play around with. Again, I'm going to put a channel on the Discord server. Go ahead and check it out. Post your ideas in there. I'd love to share some stuff with you guys and see what you guys can come up with as well. And that's all I got for this one. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. I'm going to do more just like this in the future. And we will see you next time.